Hey guys, today we're going to talk about a process called RRCV. This is an acronym, and we're going to go through what each letter in that acronym stands for. But first, what is this actually used for? This is used for finding the exact value of trig expressions. And what exactly does that mean? So like for example, find the sine of 30. Okay, so a trig expression means one of your trig functions, sine, cosine, tangent, or one of the three new reciprocal functions, secant, cosecant, cotangent, for a specific angle. So for example, sine 30. All right, so you guys might know that sine 30 equals 1/2. That's something we've talked about in class. And also you can use your calculator and type in sine 30. But RRCV is used to find these values without using a calculator. All right, so our goal is to be able to solve these problems and evaluate the exact value of a trig expression without a calculator. All right, so let's go through each of these four letters. RRCV, the first R is rotate. Basically, draw the angle. All right, so the example that we're going to do is cosine of 225. Okay, cosine of 225. So your first step, rotate, means draw the angle. All right, so 225 degrees. I know that 225 is bigger than 180, yet less than 270. So 225 has to be in quadrant 3. Okay, so I'm going to draw my angle starting with the initial side and then opening up into that third quadrant, 225 degrees. Okay, so the first R stands for rotate. Basically, rotate out that angle or draw it in standard position. The second R stands for reference angle. So a reference angle, hopefully you guys remember, a reference angle is the angle between the terminal side and the x-axis. Okay, so this was 225 degrees. So the terminal side to the x-axis would be this angle right here. And so if 180 is here and we've gone to 225, the reference angle would be 225 minus 180. Basically, see how much further have you gone past 180. And that would be 45 degrees. Okay, so your reference angle is 45 degrees. And remember, you write that as theta prime, right? Or theta, it looks like with an apostrophe. All right, so the first R was rotate or draw the angle. The second R is find the reference angle. C stands for cast. Cast. The acronym that I use is all students take calculus because that's in quadrant order. All students take calculus. What you're doing in this step, the C part of RRCV, is deciding whether or not the value will be positive. Will it be positive or negative? And it's based on the quadrant the angle lies in. So if we go back up, 225, that lies in quadrant 3. And in quadrant 3, the T stands for tangent, meaning out of sine, cosine, and tangent, only tangent is positive, which means that cosine is negative in quadrant 3. Remember that this problem asked about cosine of 225. So in quadrant 3, tan is positive, sine and cosine are not. Okay, so cosine is negative in quadrant 3. So our answer is going to be negative. Our final answer is going to be negative. Basically, all you're doing in step 3 is deciding negative or positive. In this case, negative since only tangent is positive in quadrant 3. Lastly, the V is the value, the actual value of the cosine of that angle. So for the most part, the choices that we've dealt with in here are 1/2, square root of 2 over 2, square root of 3 over 2. Okay, so for the value part of this, for this step, use the hand trick. Okay, and what you want to figure out for the value, you need to go back to step 2 and see what your reference angle was. In this case, it was 45 degrees. Since the reference angle is 45, I want to know what is the cosine of 45. Using my hand trick, 45, I pull back the middle finger. I count 2 fingers above that middle finger. Okay, so we know it's always something over 2 for 35, 45, or 60. Since I counted 2 fingers above 45, it would be square root of 2 over 2. Okay, but finally, putting it all together, the value is radical 2 over 2, but in step 3, using cast, we figured out that the value has to be negative, so your final answer is negative radical 2 over 2. Okay, so recapping what we did here. The first R, rotate, means draw the angle. The point of this, more than anything, is to figure out what quadrant it's in. Second R, reference angle. We got 45. The reason that you determine the reference angle is because later when you do the value, since 225 has a reference angle of 45, that means cos 45 has the same value as cos 225. The only difference is it might be negative, which in this case it is negative, which we figured out from cast. Since it's in quadrant 3, cosine is negative in quadrant 3, so the overall value of your answer has to be negative. All right, guys, so we're going to work on the second page of this worksheet next time in class. So you are done with your homework now for today. Great job and have an awesome day.